everybody. I am incredibly excited today to give you the first demonstration of quite a sophisticated AI running on blockchain. That blockchain, of course, is the internet computer, the only blockchain in the world today that can run compute at scale. There's a lot of talk about, blockchains for AI, tokens for AI, and things like that. This is the real deal. This is AI running on blockchain. So today I'm going to demonstrate image classification, which involves a neural network running inside a smart contract. In fact, that neural network has been compiled to WebAssembly, which is what runs on the internet computer. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started.
Tired of the confusion and conflicting reports surrounding internet computer, ICP's metrics? This video cuts through the noise, providing a crystal clear, data-driven analysis of ICP's supply and user data. Gain the clarity you need to finally understand what's really happening with the internet computer. This video is created for educational and informational purposes only. It does not promote or endorse any financial product, investment, or cryptocurrency. All information presented here is based on publicly available sources and independent analysis. Viewers are encouraged to conduct their own research before making any financial or technological decisions. The ecosystem of the internet computer has often been clouded by conflicting narratives, especially when it comes to token supply and user adoption. Many analysts persist in describing ICP's activity as zero or negligible, a shorthand that simplifies the numbers but often misleads. This script will unpack that zero narrative, examine the tokenomics in detail, explore user activity metrics, compare ICP to other Layer 1 networks at similar development phases, and ultimately provide a clearer, more nuanced understanding of where ICP stands today. Context setting. Why the zero narrative exists. The notion that ICP has little to no meaningful activity stems from several sources. First, many discussion threads highlight token price performance, or lack thereof, and equate weak price action with weak network fundamentals. Second, many aggregator charts show relatively modest metrics for transaction count, fee revenue, or decentralized application (dApp) usage, especially when compared to marquee networks such as Ethereum or Solana. Third, the novelty and architectural divergence of ICP, in particular its reverse gas model, cycle usage, and governance via the Dfinity Foundation, mean that many standard metrics simply do not map cleanly onto its ecosystem. For many observers, this mismatch translates to, "We cannot see meaningful numbers, so it must be near zero." However, that conclusion is unsatisfactory. It glosses over tokenomics nuances, ignores early-stage patterns of user adoption, and fails to account for the developer-centric phase in which ICP is still operating. Before dismissing ICP's ecosystem as non-existent, one must dig deeper into what the supply data and user metrics actually tell us, and what they do not. Token supply. What the numbers show. Let's turn to the tokenomics. According to the official ICP dashboard and the ICP wiki, the total supply of ICP is approximately 530.6 million tokens. Internet Computer Dashboard. Of this, the circulating supply at one snapshot was around 481.7 million, translating to roughly 90.8% of total supply. Further, staking data shows approximately 234.1 million ICP staked, about 44.1% of total supply, as of March 17, 2025. On the dashboard side, while some of the fields, such as actual inflation versus deflation, total ICP burned, may not always appear with full detail, the tokenomics page can show whether net inflation is positive or negative. Internet Computer Dashboard. These figures are important for understanding the supply dynamics. If a meaningful percentage of tokens are locked, staked, and not trading, then circulating supply, tradable tokens, is effectively lower, which changes the supply pressure calculus. The circulating supply is already high relative to total supply, meaning the majority of tokens are on the market, or accessible, rather than locked away permanently. However, a large portion is staked, which reduces liquid availability in practice. The fact that tokenomics metrics, such as staking, burning, inflation, are publicly visible and part of the dashboard adds transparency, but does not automatically translate to conventional metrics of utility, e.g., daily fees, active users. Therefore, if one claims ICP supply is zero, or nobody holds ICP, that claim is plainly false. there is significant supply in circulation and considerable staking activity. The more nuanced question is, what is the quality of that supply usage, governance, network operations, and how does that translate to external metrics of adoption? User metrics: active users versus transactions versus on-chain. Activity: this is where the zero narrative often takes root. Observers look at user activity statistics, wallet addresses, dApp users, transaction count, and see numbers that look modest compared to mature networks. But there are several layers to unpack. What is an active user? On a blockchain, active user can mean various things: distinct wallet addresses executing a transaction, unique human users behind those addresses, or users interacting with dApps, making PVU, peer-to-peer value transfers. On ICP, because of its architecture, canisters, cycles, reverse gas model, these distinctions matter. For example, a user might interact with a canister that handles many internal transfers but shows up as a single address externally. The dashboard is still evolving. A key point is that transactions alone do not equal unique users. For example, a single power user may generate hundreds of transactions, while many casual users generate none or few. One must delineate between unique addresses interacting over a period, daily, weekly, monthly, number of transactions, on-chain moves, canister calls, value of transactions, volume tokens transferred, dApp usage, user sessions, engagement, social and game metrics. For ICP, because many of its early-stage applications are developer-centric, experiments, prototypes, infrastructure, the number of everyday users may still be low, while transactions may be higher or lower, depending on the canister. This means one should not simply say 0 users because a particular metric appears low. The developer-centric phase. ICP is still arguably in a phase where much of the activity is infrastructure building and developer onboarding. According to its roadmap 2025 update, the focus is on reducing friction for new developers, expanding beyond core Web3 audiences, and enabling novel types of applications, for example, AI-powered, self-writing internet applications. In this context, user metrics will naturally lag what one might see in consumer-facing networks. The fact that user counts are modest is not surprising, and does not necessarily indicate failure. What numbers are visible now? While exact current figures for unique active users are not always highlighted, certain public indicators give insight. Social media followers, for example, on X, formerly Twitter, the ICP brand has 700,000 plus followers. BitDegree. While social followers do not equate to active users, they indicate community interest. On-chain metrics. For example, the ICP dashboard allows checking total canister count, value locked, cycles burned, etc. Internet Computer Dashboard, the L1 comparison page of the ICP wiki cautions that metrics across different blockchains may not be computed identically, so direct comparisons are tricky. Why the zero perception persists? Because many popular networks report tens of thousands to millions of daily unique wallets. Some observers expect immediate similar scale. ICP's lower visible user counts combined with relatively modest fee revenue compared to Ethereum lead to zero shorthand. But that shorthand ignores the architectural differences, phase of adoption, and the fact that ICP's utility model is different, e.g. reverse gas, cycles. Therefore, the narrative needs to be reframed. Rather than 0 users, a more accurate statement is user adoption is in an early phase and the metrics need context. Recent updates and ecosystem developments. To further ground our understanding, let's examine some of the recent updates in the ICP ecosystem that have direct bearing on supply, users, and adoption. Dashboard improvements. The ICP team released updates to the dashboard aimed at improving transparency. According to a Medium article published April 25, 2025, the ICP dashboard was designed to help developers, users, and ecosystem explorers better understand the network through clean, accessible data. Medium improvements in data availability help reduce confusion about metrics. As more fields, staking, burn, canister counts, cycles become visible, the narrative becomes richer. Roadmap for 2025 and beyond. The Dfinity Foundation's 2025 Roadmap update highlights more than 20 new features across various themes. One of the key shifts is towards removing friction and enabling onboarding of new developers, particularly beyond the Web3 niche. For example, AI-powered self-writing. Web3 apps, platform Caffeine, are part of the roadmap. Gate.com, expansion of storage capacity and infrastructure features. Immutable blob storage, load balancing, increased compute are underway. These developments suggest ICP is positioning itself for scale. While the user metrics may still be modest, the infrastructure and tooling are building up. Cross-chain and integration features. One of the interesting functionalities of ICP is its integration with other chains. For example, the ICP network supports native BTC custody via the Bitcoin canister and chain key ECDSA signatures. Internet computer dashboard integration such as this expands potential user bases and uses of the network beyond pure native activity. Such cross-chain integration may lead to user growth outside of the traditional wallet address count metric. Ecosystem activity. While not all ecosystem activity is captured in simple metrics, there are signs of developer and community engagement. The Medium article and blog updates note continued feature releases, developer grants, and ecosystem initiatives. Each such initiative, grants, tooling, new products, contributes to the future potential of user growth, even if the current live user count is modest. Comparative analysis, ICP versus other Layer 1s at similar stage. To assess whether ICP's narrative is indeed weak or merely early stage, it helps to compare it to other Layer 1 blockchains at comparable phases. Why direct comparisons are tricky. As noted earlier in the ICP Wiki's L1 comparison section, many networks use different definitions for metrics, transactions, users, canisters, and some include internal transfers, while others don't. Moreover, ICP's architectural model, canisters and cycles rather than gas per transaction, means that simple transaction counts may undercapture the actual utilization. Metrics to focus on. When comparing, consider circulating versus total supply, stakes and locked tokens, governance, node provider locks, canister creation count for ICP, developer activity, repos, grants, tooling, real user adoption, wallets interacting with applications, revenue, fee structure, even if minimal today, growth potential matters. Supply. ICP's supply shows 540 million tokens circulating with a large staked portion. That is comparable in absolute size, not necessarily percentage, to many networks at early stage. Users. While the active user count may be lower than high-profile networks, ICP is still in a developer build phase. Expecting consumer-scale activity may be premature. Ecosystem. With tooling updates, roadmap focus, and cross-chain integrations, ICP is building the foundation rather than finishing with mass adoption. Narrative. Networks that reached mass usage typically had strong developer ecosystems and applications first. ICP appears to be on that path, though somewhat later than hype peak. The zero narrative fails to account for this. Reframing the narrative. Given all the data, here's how one can reframe ICP's story. From zero to early stage but building. Rather than saying ICP has zero meaningful metrics, a more accurate framing, ICP shows solid supply tokenomics and is in a transitional phase of user adoption. The metrics currently visible reflect developer usage, staking, governance activity, and early infrastructure build-out, not yet broad consumer-scale dApp usage. That is normal for a network still in its mid-adoption lifecycle. Highlighting positive signals. A large portion of tokens staked, 44% as of March 2025, indicates stakeholder commitment. Dashboard improvements increase transparency, reducing confusion about supply and metrics. Roadmap indicates focus on scaling, infrastructure, and onboarding, critical prerequisites to mass adoption. Cross-chain and integration features, e.g. Bitcoin canister, expand potential user domains beyond native crypto enthusiasts. Transparent tokenomics, staking, burning supply, means fewer unknowns and less room for surprise dilution. Identifying challenges and realistic headwinds. Consumer adoption remains modest. Until compelling mainstream apps reach scale, user metrics will appear low. Comparisons to networks already in mass adoption phase may lead to unfair zero labels. Because architectural differences exist, cycles, canisters, reverse gas, many traditional metrics, daily transactions, unique wallets, may undercapture actual usage. The market narrative may still respond first to price and hype rather than underlying build-out. This can misalign perceptions. What to watch over. Next 6 to 12 months, increases in unique wallets interacting with canisters should be visible via improved dashboard. Growth in value locked in ICP ecosystem or canisters, indicating real economic activity. More consumer-facing dApps launching on ICP and reaching user scale, gaming, social media, finance. Partnerships and integrations that put ICP network functionality in front of non-crypto native users. Continued tooling infra upgrades that reduce developer friction. These precede user growth. Practical implications for viewers, stakeholders. For those considering ICP as a topic for commentary, investment, or ecosystem participation, here are practical takeaways. For developers and ecosystem participants, ICP currently offers infrastructure that may appeal to teams looking to build new kinds of Web3, Web2 hybrid apps. Because it supports canisters, cycles, fast finality, and integration with Bitcoin, there is opportunity for first-mover advantage. Evaluate whether your target audience is already ready for ICP's architecture. If your app requires high user density today, ICP may still be early stage. Look closely at governance and staking. With a large fraction of tokens staked, active stakeholder participation likely influences network incentives and direction. For analysts and commentators, avoid lumping ICP in the zero users bucket simply because some metrics look low. Provide context. What stage is the network in? What architecture unique features may affect standard metrics? Use ICP's dashboard and tokenomics pages, e.g., supply, staking, burn, to support commentary and check for changes over time. Compare ICP to networks at similar build-out phases rather than fully mature networks. This gives more meaningful context. For investors or observers, recognize that adoption is still early. Investor thesis may need to account for multi-quarter timeframes, not immediate user explosion. Monitor leading indicators, developer activity, partnerships, tooling improvements, rather than solely current user metrics. Keep an eye on supply dynamics. High staking portions mean less liquid supply, but also potential for stakeholder lock-in and aligned incentives. In conclusion, the zero narrative around ICP supply and user metrics is overly simplistic and misleading. The deeper data shows that supply is active, staking is significant, and user metrics, while modest, are consistent with a platform still within the phase of infrastructure build-out and developer onboarding. The architecture of ICP, reverse gas, cycles, canisters, requires us to interpret traditional metrics with caution. What appears as low in common charts may actually reflect structural differences rather than absence of usage. What matters most going forward is how the ecosystem converts infrastructure into live user-facing applications, how developer momentum turns into mainstream usage, and how visible metrics evolve accordingly. Over the next 6-12 months, the key will be whether ICP shows sustained growth in unique users, value-locked, and real-world integrations, not just theoretical potential. The user conundrum: active users versus transactions. Distinguishing between active users, unique individuals, and transactions, on-chain activity, is critical when evaluating ICP. ICP's ecosystem at present is developer-centric. Many canisters, infrastructure launches, but fewer consumer-scale apps. Compared to other Layer 1s at similar stages of evolution, ICP's metrics may appear modest, but this is expected in a foundational phase rather than a mature one. As this network continues maturing, the narrative should shift from zero to emerging but building. The story of ICP is not over. It's in the stage of transformation. When new tools, user-facing products, integrations, and user growth converge, the metrics will follow. Until then, clarity and context matter more than sensational labels. All right, if you learned something new or enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss future updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.